We have completed the first session on previous Friday, and in that we have seen how Mahatma Ji, this letter was actually written to Hume, but this part of the letter was in possession of Senate. And in this letter, Mahatma Ji has explained to Hume that how the universal mind, like the finite mind, it also has its voluntary and involuntary powers, just like the human mind. Okay, that is, it has its conscious action and the unconscious actions. These involuntary powers of the universal mind, they are the laws of the universe, the laws by which the universe evolves. And the voluntary powers of the infinite mind or of the universal mind, they are not known even to the highest planetaries. Those powers, the voluntary powers, are only hypothetical. But the idea that God is a separate being and he frames the laws of the universe and he governs the universe, this idea is not acceptable by the esoteric philosophy. This is a preposterous idea. And Hume, he perhaps believes in such kind of a God as being a separate being. Then Mahatma Ji also mentioned that perpetual motion is the only eternal and uncreate deity. Perpetual motion is what is driving this manifestation of the universe periodically and its evolution and subsequent dissolution. So now we'll go further. I'll share the slides with you. So last time we have completed up to the slide number 8, where Mahatma Ji made it categorically clear that perpetual motion is the only eternal and uncreated deity we are able to recognize. Now we move on to the next part of this letter, where Mahatma Ji explains that why the concept of God, as most people or most religion believe in, that is erroneous. So he says that to regard God as an intelligent spirit and accept at the same time his absolute immateriality is to conceive of a non-entity, a blank void. So see, spirit and immateriality, there is spirit and matter. Okay, so if God is regarded as a spirit, but at the same time, he has no substance, no material, he's immaterial. This means that what Mahatma Ji is saying here is that spirit cannot manifest apart from matter. So therefore, such a God, he is a non-entity. You cannot conceive of such a God. It is a blank, it's a void, because spirit and matter, they manifest together. So to conceive of such an entity is a blank void. And to regard God as a being, an ego meaning an individual, to regard him as an individual, and to place his intelligence under a bushel. Bushel is something, it is a measure. So something which is finite, that is placing it under a bushel, which can be measured. Whereas God, we say that Parabrahma, it is immeasurable. So to place his intelligence under a bushel for some mysterious reason is the most consummate nonsense. He says this idea is preposterous. It is the most consummate nonsense. That is, to consider God as an individual inevitably implies that there is a limit to his intelligence. And this does not make any sense in defining God. Further, to endow him with intelligence in the face of blind, brutal evil is to make of him a fiend. A fiend is a monster, a most rascally god. So this is the difficulty with most of these theistic philosophies. God is intelligent and all-loving, then how can he allow evil? So if we think of God as a separate being, then in the face of blind, brutal evil, he appears to be a monster who is allowing evil in the world. Next point. A being, however gigantic, occupying space and having length, breadth, and thickness, is most certainly a mosaic deity. Mosaic means to create a large design or a pattern by putting small pieces together. Okay? So, however large such a being may be, he's made up of parts, all the parts put together. And however large such a mosaic deity may be, still he is finite. Whereas the absolute is infinite, it is immeasurable. So, a being, however gigantic, occupying space and having length, breadth, and thickness, is most certainly a mosaic deity. No being and a mere principle. A mere principle, that means if you consider God is not a being, but he is just a principle, then this idea, it lands you directly in the Buddhistic atheism. Buddhistic atheism is they don't believe in God, believe that there is no God, or the Vedantic primitive acosmism. Acosmism, it is the belief that the universe is unreal. The universe is illusory, and only the infinite, unmanifest absolute is real. So that is the Vedantic view, that the universe is Maya, and the only reality is Parabrahma, the absolute. So if you consider God as a being, then however big he is still limited. And if you consider that he is not a being, he is only a principle, then in that case, it is like Buddhist atheism where there is no belief in God, or it is like the Vedantic acosmism, which believes that only the absolute Parabrahma is real and the universe is unreal or Maya. Now, the theosophic view about the universe is that this universe in which we live, it is a vast expression or a manifestation of the logos. And so, in a sense, there is no such thing as unreal. But this manifested universe, the expressions of the logos, they vary. Like there is a physical world and there are many grades of subtle world. And these are all expressions of that logos. So as our ego, it progresses, then we become capable of living and functioning in higher and higher worlds. Currently, we are functioning in the physical world. But when this ego becomes capable, it can live and function in the higher worlds, which are also the expression of the logos. So then that higher world, it becomes real for us. And the lower world, which we have outgrown, we realize that it was only the shadows of the higher. So this is the theosophic view about the reality of the world. And in the secret doctrine, HPB has mentioned that whatever plane our consciousness may be acting in, both we and the things that belong to that particular plane, they are for the time being our only realities. And this upward progress of our ego, it is a series of progressive awakenings. So when we become capable to live on the higher world or in the higher planes, then those lower stages through which we have already passed, we realize that we mistook them for realities, whereas they were only shadows. So this is what HPB has also mentioned in Secret Doctrine. So it is a game of, like reality and shadow. What is real and what is the shadow? And when will this game of hide and seek stop? So she says that this game, or rather this seeking of reality, it stops only when we reach absolute consciousness. When we blend our own consciousness with the absolute consciousness, only then we will be free of this delusion, which is this hide and seek game of what is real and what is shadow. So this was what Mahatma Ji is saying, that whether God is a being or a no being, and the different views about it. Then he says, what lies beyond and outside the worlds of form and being, in worlds and spheres in their most spiritualized state. And you will perhaps oblige us by telling us where that beyond can be, since the universe is infinite and limitless. So Hume had this idea, he thinks he is more intelligent than the masters, so he can tell where the beyond is. He thinks God is a separate individual, so he can tell where the beyond is. So this by telling us where that beyond can be, since universe is infinite and limitless, is useless for anyone to search after, since even planetary spirits have no knowledge or perception of it. The highest planetary spirits, we know that they can have conscious existence beyond the most subtle matter of our solar system. So they can exist consciously beyond the solar system. Still, they cannot go beyond the fourth cosmic plane. It is said that the silent watcher, he has his being on the fourth cosmic plane. Theosophy tells us that the lower four planes of the worlds of form, they are the worlds of form, the lower four planes. They are the Rupalok. And the higher three planes, they are the Arupalok. So look at it by analogy. The most spiritualized states of the world, the most spiritualized states, they will be the higher three planes. The lower four planes will be the world, objective world, or the world of forms. So since everything in the universe is septenary, it is these objective world which are having their spiritualized state in the higher three planes. And what lies in those most spiritualized states? They are the higher three planes, that is fifth, sixth, and seventh cosmic planes. So we cannot know that because even the highest planetary spirits have no knowledge about it. So we have no knowledge about the highest spiritualized states. Next point. If our greatest adepts and bodhisattvas have never penetrated themselves beyond our solar system, and the idea seems to suit your preconceived theistic theory wonderfully, my respected brother, they should know of the existence of other such solar systems with as mathematical a certainty as any Western astronomer knows of the existence of invisible stars which he can never approach or explore. So the planetary spirits, they can exist beyond the solar system. But on the Earth hierarchy, in the hierarchy of the Earth, the greatest adepts and bodhisattvas, they have never penetrated beyond the solar system. Okay. So this hierarchy is referring to the Great White Brotherhood on our Earth. And the adepts and the bodhisattvas of that brotherhood, they have not had any conscious existence beyond solar system. None of them have penetrated beyond the seventh plane of the solar system. Now, even though the perception and knowledge of these adepts and bodhisattvas, they are limited to the solar system, still they know, they have found out that there is existence of other star systems, of other solar worlds, just like our own. And they do exist, that is a reality. And this is based on the occult laws of nature, which are mathematically and scientifically precise. So this is analogous to how in our physical science we have these astronomers and they can deduce mathematically the existence of a star, which may not be visible, but they can deduce its presence by various deductive methods, like perhaps its gravitational effect on the surrounding region or its lensing effect, the bending of light. So by such effects, they can deduce that such a star exists. Then why cannot the adepts and the bodhisattvas, using the occult laws, deduce the existence of other star systems, just like our solar system? So this is what Mahatma Ji is explaining to Hume, that other star systems do exist. Then he adds, but of that which lies within the worlds and systems, not in the trans-infinitude, a queer expression to use, but in the cis-infinitude, in the state of the purest and inconceivable immateriality. No one ever knew or will ever tell, since it is something non-existent for the universe. You are at liberty to place in this eternal vacuum the intellectual or voluntary powers of your deity, if you can conceive of such a thing. Now, these two terms, trans-infinitude and cis-infinitude. So trans means something which is on the other side, and cis means which is on the same side. Now here trans-infinitude, it is meaning that on the other side of the infinite cosmos. Now, what we know of the cosmos is only the lower four, the objective planes. So trans is beyond those four objective planes, the three higher spiritualized planes. Cis-infinitude means which is within or inside this cosmos. That means within the four objective planes. Now it is said that the purest and the inconceivable immateriality within the infinite cosmos, that is the three higher cosmic planes, nobody can know about it. Even the highest planetaries don't know about it. Even in her diagram, HPB has shown the diagram in Secret Doctrine. She shows the planes. So she has shown only the lower four cosmic planes. She does not show the higher three cosmic planes because they are, nobody can tell anything about them. They are inconceivable. So Mahatma Ji is saying that the conception of God that Hume has, so Hume is at liberty to reject these ideas, and he can continue to believe God as a separate being living on those three higher planes, if he can conceive of such a thing. Okay, and he can continue to believe that God has voluntary powers. Meanwhile, he says, meanwhile, we may say that it is motion that governs the laws of nature. We spoke about this at length in the previous session. The universe, it is said to be the divine thought. The divine thought is Mahat. Mahat on the third cosmic plane, counting from above. That is the plane of Akash. So universe, which is the divine thought, it is made into word, and the word is made flesh. Flesh meaning the word is made objective, meaning the universe manifests. So divine thought, which is Mahat or the universal ideation, from that thought comes the force, which translates into motion. That motion is vibration or the word, which we say as Om, the cosmic sound. And it is this sound which manifests the world. So remember, sound is the qualifier of Akash. Mahat is on the plane of Akash, that is the third plane from above, or fifth plane counting from below. So Akash is the fifth cosmic element. Now, with this, the vibration that is from the force of the thought, which translates into motion, that is, it produces sound, which is the qualifier of Akash, and then from that emanate the lower cosmic substances. That is, we know, which is Vayu, and then Agni and Jal and Prithvi. So they become the lower four objective planes of the universe. So thus it is motion which rolls out the divine thought into the laws of the universe, according to which evolution is happening. Okay, the force of the cosmic ideation translates into motion. And that motion, we cannot consider it like the motion we see on the physical plane. It is not a motion like that. It is, I don't know how we can conceive of it, but as it is said, it is the sound, the cosmic sound. So that is the vibrational motion. And then when the matter becomes objective, that is from Akash, when the next differentiation takes place, that matter, it receives the rotational impulse. So the smallest particle of the matter, they are having rotational motion. So vibrational motion, which is sound, and the rotational motion of matter, which is inherent in matter. This is all we can conceive of the motion. But it rolls out the divine thought, and it evolves the universe according to the laws of the universe. So this is what is meant by motion that governs the laws of nature. And that it governs them as the mechanical impulse given to running water, which will propel them either in a correct line or along hundreds of furrows. They may happen to meet on their way, and whether those furrows are natural grooves or channels prepared artificially by the hand of man. Suppose if you take a mug of water or a jug of water and just throw it forcefully, with your hand, the direction in which you have moved the jug forcefully, the water just is thrown out in that direction and it will flow. So this is a mechanical impulse given to the water. Just like that, when the universe is manifesting, that impulse, that mechanical impulse of evolution is given to this matter. That mechanical impulse comes from the force of the divine ideation or the force of Mahat, or corresponding to microcosm, it is the thought power. Okay, thought power of the universal mind. So this is a very important hint that Mahatma Ji is given. Though evolution it will proceed as per the divine thought, that is the universal mind, but there may be deviations or delays. These are the furrows, the side furrows. Furrows are grooves. So instead of going in the direction of the impulse, the water may flow through the grooves or through the furrows. Okay, so there is a deviation. And these deviations, they can be due to natural causes or due to man-made causes. What can be the man-made causes or the natural causes which deviate the evolution? So we are very familiar, man is capable of things which, are really unthinkable. By using nuclear weapons, man can bring about the destruction not only of his own self, but of his entire world. So obviously evolution goes for a 6. Where is evolution then, if man destroys himself? Similarly, there are natural causes. By mutation or by changes in the genes, a new and different feature may evolve, whether in a plant or an animal or even in humans. So in such cases, if that changed plant or animal or human, if he is able to adapt to his surroundings, and if he is strong, then the evolution continues. Else, such a modified feature or such a modified specimen, he is wiped out. So this is like survival of the fittest. So this is what we see happening in nature very commonly. But the most glaring example of this deviation in nature, it is given in the evolution of man. The evolution of man, we know it happens through the 7 root races. So in the first, second, and up to the middle of the 3rd root race, with the separation of sexes from the androgyne man, evolution came through. And then nature unaided fails. Why? Because man was not able to evolve further and recognize his divinity. He still behaved like animals because he was not endowed with higher mind. He had only the instinctual mind of the animal. Now, for the purpose of evolution, for man, the purpose of evolution is to realize his divinity. But that was not happening. This became the deviation in evolution. And it is then that the sons of Mahat, or the sons of wisdom, they incarnate in man in the middle of 3rd root race, and they endow him with Manas. That is Mahat. And this Manas, it is the link between the divinity of man and his materiality. So using this as the bridge of Manas, man can either rise to his divinity or he can fall into his animality. So this is what, there may be deviations in evolution either due to man-made causes or due to nature, but then always there is a course correction. So we move further. Mahatma Ji states, and we maintain that wherever there is life and being, and in however much spiritualized a form, there is no room for moral government, much less for a moral governor, a being which at the same time has no form nor occupies space. So life in spiritualized form, we just mentioned about it previously. See, the occult doctrine, it affirms that universe is made up of numberless hierarchies of intelligent beings. These are the intelligent egos. And the essence of such high beings or spiritual beings, their essence is the spiritual force and their substance is the cosmic elements. Cosmic elements are those 4 planes, the lower 4 planes, objective planes. And the essence of these beings is the spiritual force. So the spiritual force, it is the knowledge and power of consciousness. And they are very high in that spiritual force. The knowledge and power of consciousness. More spiritualized the being is, more is his expression of the spiritual force, and less is the materiality of his body. So his body is more subtle, and his expression of consciousness and knowledge is more high. So these are the spiritualized states of being. But even at such lofty levels of cosmic hierarchies, there is no governing agency, nor is there any being who acts as a governor, who sets these moral rules, that is, the principles of right and wrong behavior or proper conduct. So there is no such being even at those high levels of spiritual hierarchy. The involuntary function of the infinite mind, it has already set in motion the regular, unconscious, eternal universal laws. So the impulse has already been given by the universal mind, and that too the involuntary function of the universal mind. It gives the impulse for this regular, unconscious, eternal universal laws, which are termed as pulse of nature. So evolution happens according to these laws. There is no being who has to frame the laws and govern them. Next point. Verily, if light shineth in darkness, and darkness comprehends it not, it is because such is the natural law. Now, this phrase has come from the Bible. It can be interpreted here in this context that the light of truth and darkness of ignorance. So Mahatma Ji is trying to show Hume the light of truth. But he is shrouded in this darkness of ignorance, and he is unable to comprehend the truth which Mahatma Ji is telling him. But how much more suggestive and pregnant with meaning for one who knows to say that light can still less comprehend darkness, nor ever know it, since it kills wherever it penetrates and annihilates it instantly. Now, this is very true, obvious. The one who knows, the one who is an enlightened being, he's a jnani. And jnana or knowledge, it removes the veil of ignorance, the veil of avidya and maya. So that means it removes darkness. This light of knowledge, it instantly annihilates the darkness of ignorance, which can never return. Because where there is light, darkness will not be there. It is obvious, right? So that is what Mahatma Ji is saying. Light can still less comprehend darkness. It cannot know darkness because light is light. How can it know darkness? Pure yet a volitional spirit is an absurdity for volitional mind. Volitional means the power of will, to be able to determine and choose. That is volitional. So pure yet a volitional spirit is an absurdity for volitional mind. The result of organism cannot exist independently of an organized brain, and an organized brain made out of nihil is still greater a fallacy. Nihil means nothing. Organized brain made out of nothing. So a pure spirit which exercises its will or intelligence, that means it is volitional. It definitely implies the existence of a working mind, because intelligence is the outcome of mind. Moreover, a working mind or an organized brain, as Mahatma Ji is saying, it cannot be made out of nothing. Okay, so it is like contradictory. Mahatma Ji says, if you ask me whence the immutable laws cannot make themselves. That means if Hume asks Mahatma Ji from where did the immutable laws come, then that means Hume is trying to imply that there must be a creator to make the laws. Then Mahatma Ji will in turn ask, then in my turn I will ask you, and whence their supposed creator? From where did the creator come? So a creator cannot create or make himself if the brain did not make itself. For this would be affirming that brain acted before it existed. How could intelligence, the result of an organized brain, act before its creator was made? So this question is actually like the chicken and egg story. Who came first, the chicken or the egg? And here it means that is there a creator who made the brain or the mind? Or is the creator the outcome of the brain or the mind? So which came first, creator or the brain? Now, we know that theosophy does not admit the existence of a creator who creates the universe and frames its laws and governs the universe. Instead, theosophy affirms that the universe periodically emanates from the unmanifest. This is the eternal motion, the uncreate deity. Subjective matter, it gradually and progressively comes into objectivity. And the universal laws, they inhere in that manifesting universe. And according to those laws, the universe evolves. And moreover, in the previous slide, we also saw that the initial impulse of evolution, there may be some deviations due to natural causes or due to man-made causes. But in the end, there is always a course correction. The whole of nature will move towards a higher evolution. Now, all this reminds one of the wrangling for seniorship. Wrangling for seniorship is the dispute, this argument about which came first, the creator or the intelligence. And Mahatmaji tells Hume that your doctrines clash too much with your theories. Then we can easily give up the subject and talk of something else. Very contradictory, of no use at all. He adds that study the laws and the doctrines of the Nepalese Swabhaviks, the principal Buddhist philosophical school in India, and you will find them the most learned as the most scientifically logical wranglers in the world. Now, many of you must be aware that in ancient India, these religious debates were held, Shastrarth. And these Shastrarth were held to expound the meaning of the philosophies. They would be between great learned Pandits and people like that. The most celebrated debate is between Adi Shankaracharya and Pandit Mandan Mishra. So in this period, when these letters were written in the last quarter of the 19th century, Mahatmaji is saying that at this time, the Nepalese Swabhaviks, they were the most learned and scientifically logical wranglers or debaters in expounding the philosophical truths. So their plastic, invisible, eternal, omnipresent, unconscious Swabhavat is force or motion, ever generating its electricity, which is life. Swabhavat. Now, in esotericism, Swabhavat is called father-mother or spirit matter. That is spirit-matter, which is one. Spirit and matter are one. Okay. So this Swabhavat is one life. It is called father-mother or spirit matter. See this term Swabhavat. Swa means self, own self. And bhav. Bhav means a state of being. So it is this state of being in motion. That is the force. And it is generating the one life. This motion or this force, it is generating the one life. If you recall, in the previous session, we have briefly dwelt upon how the universe is progressively manifesting from the unmanifest. So the first logos is the unconscious deity. The second logos is this one life, which is spirit matter. Okay, so that is the force, and it is generating the one life, which pervades the entire universe. All of nature proceeds from it, and at the end of the life cycles, all of nature returns back to it. So from that one life, everything proceeds and everything returns back to it. That is Swabhavat. Study the laws and the doctrine. Okay, this we have finished, right? Next slide now. Yes. Yes, there is a force as limitless as thought, as potent as boundless will, as subtle as the essence of life, so inconceivably awful in its rending force, so as to convulse the universe to its center, but it would be used as a lever. But this force is not God, since there are men who have learned the secret of subjecting it to their will when necessary. So this force, which we described as Swabhavat, it is limitless as thought, and it is potent as the will power. It is as potent as the will power. And it is very subtle, like the essence of life. Life is very ephemeral, right? So it is so delicate, like life itself, but it is so potent as the will, and it is limitless as thought. In addition, it is so inconceivably awful as its rending force. Rending force is the ability or the strength to tear something apart. So that strength in that force, it is so great that it can convulse the universe to its center. If something or somebody were to use that force, the entire universe would be shaken up to its center. But even this force can be subjected to, to the will of man. If man knows, who have learned the secret, the occult laws of nature, then they can subject this force to their will when necessary. So that is the key point. It can be done, that force can be subjected to the will, but it is not done. It is done only when necessary. Okay? What Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, yada yada hi dharmasya. So only when it is necessary, then that force is subjected to the will. The force of this one life, that is the force of Swabhavat. Okay, and we said that is the second logos. So it descends and it runs the operations of the universe. And this force, it can be controlled by the will. Will, if you remember, it is the force of the first logos. Will is the force of Atma. First logos corresponds to Atma. So, and this one life or Sabhavat is the force of the second logos. Okay. So this force, Sabhavat or one life, it can be controlled by the force of will. Okay. And this means that this force, it is controlled when necessary by those men who have raised their consciousness to the level of the divine will. So it is not that anybody can control this force. It is only when the person, the adept, the perfected man has raised his consciousness to the level of divine will. Mahatma Ji says, look around you and see the myriad manifestations of life, so infinitely multiform, of life, of motion, of change. What caused these? From what inexhaustible source they came they? By what agency? Out of the invisible and subjective, they have entered our little area of the visible and objective. Mahatma Ji is urging Hume to observe the multifarious life around him and to think about its limitless source and how it manifested from this source, the invisible and subjective at first manifestation, which is invisible and subjective at first, and gradually it is becoming visible and objective. This is how the septenary manifestation takes place. So Mahatma Ji is urging Hume to think about it. He says, the children of Akash, concrete evolutions from the ether. It was force which brought them into perceptibility, and force will in time remove them from sight of man. Now this children of Akash. Akash mentioned is the fifth cosmic element, counting from the lowest, right? It corresponds to the plane of cosmic mind, that is Mahat. So children of Akash means the sons of Mahat, the Manas Putra, which are the differentiations of Mahat. Mahat differentiates into the 7 creative logos, right? The 7 creative rays, they are called the 7 logoi. And Mahatma Ji is saying that even the 7 creative logoi, they came into being due to the force of the one life. Mahat is the third logos. One life is second logos. So the differentiation of Mahat, it happens due to the force of that one life. And in due course, all of these will be resolved back into Mahat, into the same force. So from whence it came, it returns back to the same source. Then next point, why should this plant in your garden to the right have been produced with such a shape and that other one to the left with one totally dissimilar? Are these not the results of varying actions of force, unlike correlations? Given a perfect monotony of activities throughout the world, and we would have a complete identity of forms, colors, shapes, and properties throughout all the kingdom of nature. It is the motion with its resulting conflict, neutralization, equilibration, correlation, to which is due the infinite variety which prevails. So, this motion or force of the one life, it evolves the structures or the forms in the universe. See, previously we discussed the cosmic planes they evolved, right? That was the subjective matter becoming objective by the force of Mahat. Mahat is third logos. So that was what Annie Besant calls the first great outpouring when the planes of the cosmos were emanated. Now what is being said is the force of one life evolves the structure or the forms in the universe. The forms are being developed. So this force of one life, which is the force of the second logos, it evolves the forms. As per Annie Besant, this is the second great outpouring. Okay, so you can actually correlate with all what all has been written later on in the Secret Doctrine and these books by these other theosophists and what is being said in the Mahatma letters. So had this force, the force of the one life, if it had been uniform throughout the world, then all the kingdoms of nature, including mineral, plant, animal, humans, they would all appear identical in form and colors and shape and properties. Can you even imagine how it would appear? A mineral and a plant and a human all looking the same, having the same form and same properties. But we don't find this. We find a great variety in the universe. We find a great variety in each of the kingdoms. So this is all due to the varying actions of the force of that one life. That force, it acts to produce motion, which results sometimes in conflict and neutralization, and at other times in equilibration and correlation. So this produces the great variety which we can observe throughout all the kingdoms of nature. Even in our Chandogya Upanishad, this idea of Eko Ham Bahusayam that is mentioned. That means it is the sankalp of the non-dual Brahma. He wills to become many and he projects himself as the many. So that is what is written in the Upanishad, that he wills with the willpower. He from one, he becomes many. But here Mahatma Ji is telling us how the many came into being. He's actually giving the explanation that how that force, with what action of the force, all this variety has come into being. Okay, so this is actually what is Tattva Gyan. Okay, Atma Gyan is knowledge of self. Who are you? Who are we? Atma Gyan. And Tattva Gyan is this, how the universe, macrocosm and microcosm come into being. Next slide. You speak of an intelligent and good. The attribute is rather unfortunately chosen. Father, a moral guide and governor of the universe and man. So most people and religion, they think that God is an intelligent and a good super being in heaven. And he decides what is right, what is wrong, how to rule the universe. And by applying such attributes to, this super being, we are anthropomorphizing it. We are making it in the image of man, which Mahatma Ji says is very unfortunate. He says that a certain condition of things exist around us, which we call normal. Under this, nothing can occur which transcends our everyday experience, God's immutable laws. Okay, so the universal laws of nature, they cause us to experience the world around us the way we know it. Okay, we know it because we have a certain, these five senses, they experience the world in a certain way. And we are seeing it the way we see it around us because of these universal laws and our sensory organs. Now, for example, let's take, okay, in the tropical regions, that is the hot region, the hot belt on the globe. Summers are very hot, especially during the summer. If the heat rises, then it is very sure that there will be a cyclonic storm. Immediately, there will be heavy rainfall. It brings down the temperature. It is natural physical law because of low pressure and high pressure. So another example, say suppose it is snowing in the hilly regions. In Simla, Manali, if there is snowfall, then naturally in the northern plain of India, it will become very cold. The cold reaches as far as Delhi, becomes quite cold. So these are the things which we see around us in the normal circumstances. But suppose, Mahatmaji is adding here, but suppose we change this condition and have the best of him, without whom even a hair of your head will not fall, as they tell you in the West. So Western culture, they have this accepted belief that without the will of the super being, which they call God, even a hair on the head will not be disturbed. Many people have this kind of belief. Nothing can happen without his will. But, says the master, that by knowing these occult principles of nature, the conditions can be altered to bring about different results. These examples which I was giving you about a cyclonic storm or it becoming cold if it has snowed in some place. So these effects or these results, they can be altered to bring about a different result. And many adepts or Siddha Purush who are aware and who have mastered the occult laws, they can produce such phenomena. And in the second point, Mahatmaji is saying that a current of air brings to me from the lake near which, with my fingers half frozen, I now write to you this letter. I change by a certain combination of electrical, magnetic, odylic, or other influences the current of air which benumbs my fingers into a warmer breeze. I have thwarted the intention of the Almighty and dethroned him at my will. So what Mahatmaji has mentioned, see, pay attention to this electric, magnetic, and odylic currents. They pervade all of matter. Odil is the vital current, odylic current, vital currents or the life force. So by modifying these forces, an adept can transform a cold draft of wind into a warm breeze. So what would normally have been very cold conditions. So if Hume's God has willed that it has to be cold, but then his will is thwarted. He has thwarted the intentions of the Almighty by changing it into a warm breeze. And that he has done just by changing or modifying these forces, the electric, magnetic, and odylic currents. I can do that, or when I do not want nature to produce strange and too visible phenomena, I force my nature influencing self within me to suddenly awake to new perceptions and feelings, and thus I am my own creator and ruler. Meaning that the adepts, they can modify the forces of nature and consequently they can change the conditions around them, like what we saw in the previous slide, or they can raise their consciousness from the phenomenal world to higher planes at will. So then they have new perceptions and new feelings. In this way, they can create their own reality. So this is what he's telling Hume. It is not the things are happening by the will of God. Okay, if you can master those forces, you can change the conditions around you. Or by raising your consciousness to a higher level, you can change your own reality. But do you think that you are right when saying that the laws arise? Immutable laws cannot arise, since they are eternal and uncreated, propelled in the eternity, and that God Himself, if such a thing existed, could never have the power of stopping them. So Mahatmaji is again and again trying to explain that the laws of universe are not made by God, nor do they arise from Him. The universal laws, they are not framed like the rules of an organization. They are eternal and unchanging. Then, third point, and when did I say that these laws were fortuitous per se? That means happening by luck or by chance. I meant their blind correlations, never the laws, or rather the law, since we recognize but one law in the universe, the law of harmony, of perfect equilibrium. So this entire universe, it operates under one law, which is the law of harmony or equilibrium. But as we come to the lower planes, as the differentiation in matter happens, the differentiation in force happens, there is differentiation in the actions of that force. But we see, so that by coming to the lower planes, it appears as if it is blind force. But even then, those blind forces, they work according to the one law which governs all these other laws. For example, if we take water and sunlight is necessary for a plant to grow, but different plants have different requirement of water. They have different requirement of sunlight. A plant which may thrive in bright sunshine, planted outside, it may wilt if you put it indoors when it receives very little sunlight. Okay, so it is not that everything is uniform and everything will just work according to that law. But there is a lot of differentiation as we go lower and lower to the lower planes. Even so, the entire universe, it definitely operates under one law, which is the law of equilibrium or harmony. Okay, and this law, now if you correlate it with what we know, that the law of harmony, it works to bring the three qualities which are inherent in matter, the three qualities which are sattva, rajas, and tamas. They have to come to equilibrium. And it is due to the fact that this equilibrium is disturbed. That is why we have these different results or these different activities or the different events, the variety that we see in nature. And all this leads to the evolutionary cycle. So this entire evolutionary cycle is nothing but seeking to restore that harmony, to restore that equilibrium. So I think now we will give a pause. We will stop this session here and continue next time. And now I will request Meenakshi ji to give us the translation in Hindi.
Namaste. Thank you, sister. लेटर नंबर 90 में अब हम आगे बढ़ते हैं। मास्टर कहते हैं, हम कहते हैं यह चिरंतन गति ही है जो एकमात्र शाश्वत और अनिर्मित देवता है, ज्ञात करने में सक्षम है। ईश्वर को बुद्धिमान सत्ता के रूप में मानना और साथ ही उसके पूर्ण अमूर्तता को स्वीकारना यानी अस्तित्वहीनता, खाली रिक्तता की कल्पना करना है। ईश्वर को एक जीवात्मा के रूप में मानना और कुछ रहस्यमय कारणों से उसकी बुद्धिमत्ता का नापतोल करना, यह अत्यंत मूर्खतापूर्ण है। विवेक शून्य, क्रूर, दुष्ट के नाम पर उसे बुद्धिमत्ता प्रदान करना, यह उसे शैतान का रूप देना, एक अत्यंत दुष्ट देवता बनाना है। एक विशाल जीव जो अंतरिक्ष में व्याप्त हो और लंबा, चौड़ा और मोटा हो, वह निश्चित ही मोज़ेक देवता है, तत्व मात्र और कोई नहीं। यह सीधे आपको बौद्ध अनीश्वरवाद या वेदांतिक अनादि परब्रह्मवाद में ले जाता है। रूप और जीव जगत के परे और बाहर, वर्ल्ड्स और स्फीयर्स में उनकी सबसे आध्यात्मिक स्थिति में क्या है, इसकी किसी ने भी खोज करना व्यर्थ है, बेकार है, क्योंकि इसके बारे में प्लैनेटरी स्पिरिट्स को भी कोई ज्ञान या अनुभूति नहीं है। ब्रह्मांड अनंत और असीमित है। हमारे सर्वश्रेष्ठ महात्मागण और बोधिसत्व कभी भी हमारे सौर मंडल से परे नहीं गए हैं, फिर भी वे ऐसे अन्य सौर मंडलों के अस्तित्व के बारे में उतने ही गणितीय सटीकता से जानते हैं जितना कि कोई भी पाश्चिमात्य खगोलशास्त्री अदृश्य तारों के अस्तित्व के बारे में जानता है, जिनकी ओर वह कभी नहीं जा सकता है या उनकी खोज नहीं कर सकता है। लेकिन जो वर्ल्ड्स और सिस्टम्स के भीतर है, अनंतता के पार नहीं बल्कि अनंतता के भीतर में शुद्धतम और अकल्पनीय अमूर्तता की स्थिति में है, उसे किसी ने भी कभी भी नहीं जाना था, न ही कभी बताएगा। इसलिए यह संसार के लिए अस्तित्वहीन है। इस अनंत शून्यता में आप अपने देवता की बौद्धिक या स्वैच्छिक शक्तियों को रखने के लिए स्वतंत्र है। यदि आप ऐसी किसी भी चीज की कल्पना कर सकते हैं। इसी बीच हम कह सकते हैं कि यह गति ही है जो सृष्टि के नियमों को नियंत्रित करती है। यह उन्हें उस तरह के यांत्रिक आवेग के रूप में नियंत्रित करते हैं जैसे कि बहते पानी को दिया गया यांत्रिक आवेग उन्हें या तो एक सीधी रेखा में या उनके राह में आने वाले आजू बाजू के सैकड़ों खांचों में बहने के लिए आगे बढ़ाएगा, और वे खांचे कहीं कुदरती खांचे हैं या मानव निर्मित कृत्रिम रूप से तैयार किए गए चैनल से। और हम यह मानते हैं कि जहां भी जीवन और जीव है, और चाहे कितने भी उन्नत रूप में क्यों न हो, वहां नैतिक शासन सरकार के लिए कोई जगह नहीं, नैतिक नियंत्रक के लिए तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं। एक ऐसी सत्ता जिसका न तो कोई रूप है और न ही वह जगह घेरता है। वास्तव में यदि प्रकाश अंधेरे में चमकता है और अंधेरे को उसका बोध नहीं होता है, तो ऐसा इसलिए है क्योंकि यह प्राकृतिक नियम है। लेकिन जो जानता है, उसके लिए यह कहना अधिक सूचक और अर्थपूर्ण है कि प्रकाश न तो अंधेरे को समझ सकता है, न ही उसे कभी जान सकता है, क्योंकि जहां भी वह प्रविष्ट होता है, वहां वह तुरंत उस अंधेरे को मिटा देता है। शुद्ध फिर भी दृढ़ संकल्प शक्ति वाले देवता, दृढ़ इच्छा शक्ति वाले मन के लिए एक बेतुकी बात है। एक संगठित मस्तिष्क से स्वतंत्र रूपी जीव की निर्मिति नहीं होगी, और शून्यता से बना एक संगठित मन मस्तिष्क और भी बड़ा भ्रम है। यदि आप मुझसे पूछते हैं, फिर अपरिवर्तनीय नियम कहाँ से उत्पन्न हुए? नियम स्वयं नहीं बन सकते, तब मैं आपसे पूछूंगा, और उनका कथित निर्माता कहाँ से आया? एक रचनाकार स्वयं का सृजन या निर्माण नहीं कर सकता। यदि मन मस्तिष्क ने स्वयं को नहीं बनाया, क्योंकि यह पुष्टि करेगा कि मन मस्तिष्क अस्तित्व में आने से पहले ही कार्य करता था, तब बुद्धिमत्ता जो एक संगठित मस्तिष्क का परिणाम है, वह अपने निर्माता के बनने से पहले कैसे कार्य कर सकती थी? भारत के प्रमुख बौद्ध दार्शनिक स्कूल नेपाली स्वाभाविका के नियम और सिद्धांतों का अध्ययन करें, और आप उन्हें दुनिया के सबसे अधिक वैज्ञानिक रूप से तार्किक तर्कवादियों के रूप में सर्वाधिक विद्वान पाएंगे। उनका अदृढ़, अदृश्य, शाश्वत, सर्वव्यापी और अचेतन स्वभावत शक्ति या गति है, जो सदैव विद्युत शक्ति या ऊर्जा यानी जीवन का उत्पादन करती है। हाँ, एक ऐसी शक्ति है जो विचार जैसी असीमित, असीम, अपार इच्छा शक्ति जितनी शक्तिशाली, जीवन के सार रूप जितनी सूक्ष्मतर है। उसकी तीव्र शक्ति इतनी अद्भुत है कि वह कल्पनातीत है कि यदि उसका एक लीवर के रूप में उपयोग किया जाए, तो वह ब्रह्मांड को उसके केंद्र में ठेलने की क्षमता रखता है। लेकिन यह शक्ति ईश्वर नहीं है, चूंकि ऐसे भी मनुष्य हैं जिन्होंने आवश्यकता पड़ने पर इसे अपनी इच्छा के अधीन करने का रहस्य संपादित किया है। अपनी चारों ओर देखे और जीवन के, गति के, परिवर्तन के असंख्य प्रकटीकरण को असीम विभिन्न रूपों में देखे। यह किस वजह से हुआ? वे किस अक्षय अपार स्रोत से, किस माध्यम से आए? अदृश्य और अरूप में से वे दृश्य और रूप लोक के हमारे अल्प से क्षेत्र में प्रविष्ट हुए। आकाश की निर्मिति, ईथर के सघन रूप में विकास, यह शक्ति थी जिसने उन्हें प्रत्यक्षता में, बोधगम्यता में लाया, और समय के साथ शक्ति उन्हें मनुष्य की दृष्टि से ओझल कर देगी। आपके बगीचे में दाहिनी ओर का पौधा ऐसे आकार का और बाई ओर का दूसरा पौधा बिल्कुल ही अलग क्यों होना चाहिए? क्या ये सहसंबंधों के विपरीत शक्ति के भिन्न भिन्न क्रियाओं का परिणाम नहीं है? दुनिया भर में गतिविधियों की पूर्ण एकतांता को देखते हुए हमें प्रकृति के सभी जीव सृष्टि के रूप, रंग, आकार और गुणों की पूरी पहचान होगी। गति के टकराव, निष्प्रभावन, संतुलन, पारस्परिक संबंध के परिणाम स्वरूप व्याप्त असीम विविधता है। आप एक बुद्धिमान और अच्छे पिता, एक नैतिक मार्गदर्शक और ब्रह्मांड और मनुष्य के शासक, नियंत्रक के बारे में बात करते हैं। हमारे चारों ओर चीजों की एक निश्चित स्थिति होती है जिसे हम सर्वसामान्य स्थिति कहते हैं। इसके तहत ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता जो हमारे रोजमर्रा के अनुभव ईश्वर के अपरिवर्तनीय नियमों से परे हो। लेकिन मान ले कि हम इस स्थिति को बदल देते हैं और उसका सर्वोत्तम लाभ लेते हैं, जैसे कि आपके पश्चिम में कहा जाता है, जिसके सिवाय आपके सिर का एक भी बाल नहीं गिरता। पास के झील से आए हवा के झोंके से ठिठुरी हुई मेरी उंगलियों से अब मैं आपको यह पत्र लिख रहा हूँ। मैं विद्युत चुंबकीय जीवन शक्ति या अन्य प्रभावों के कुछ सम्मिश्रण से हवा के प्रवाह को, जो मेरी उंगलियों को सुन्न कर देती है, उसे गर्म हवा में बदल देता हूँ। मैंने ईश्वर के इरादे को विफल कर दिया और अपनी इच्छा शक्ति द्वारा उसे खारिज कर दिया। मैं ऐसा कर सकता हूँ, या जब भी मैं यह नहीं चाहता कि प्रकृति विचित्र दृश्य घटित करे, तब मैं अपने भीतर के भौतिक जगत को देखने वाले और उससे प्रभावित होने वाले व्यक्तिमत्व को यकायक नई अनुभूति और भावनाओं के प्रति जागृत होने के लिए बाध्य करता हूँ। और इस तरह मैं स्वयं अपना निर्माता और मर्जी का मालिक हूँ। नियमों का उद्भव हुआ, ऐसा जब आप कहते हैं, तो क्या वह सही है? अपरिवर्तनीय नियम उत्पन्न नहीं हो सकते क्योंकि वे शाश्वत और अजन्मे हैं, निरंतर चलने वाले हैं। और स्वयं ईश्वर, यदि ऐसा कुछ है, वह भी उन्हें रोकने में असमर्थ होगा। और मैंने ऐसा जब कहा कि ये नियम आकस्मिक थे, मेरा मतलब उनके अज्ञ सह संबंधों से था, कभी भी नियमों या नियम से नहीं। हम ब्रह्मांड में केवल एक ही नियम को, सद्भाव के, एकता के, संपूर्ण संतुलन के नियम को जानते हैं, मानते हैं। थैंक यू। नमस्ते।
Thank you, Meenakshi ji. That was a very good translation of a very difficult letter. And now if we have any questions, then we can take it.
Sai Krishna, yes. He like to ask questions.
Yes.
Yes, Sai Krishna. Yes, you can ask question. Yes.
Ma'am, can you also explain the practical methodology, how to experience personally in our lives as a common man, to understand all these things what you have discussed till now? The best methodology you would like to suggest, and any one of you can also share your experiences in the method of this sadhana, what all we have discussed now, and experiencing the cosmic planes and evolution of the man and everything like
I think that is too much to ask. Experiencing these cosmic planes and all, we are still experiencing only the physical plane. Our whole entire solar system is manifested on the Prakritic plane, that is the lowest cosmic plane. And out of that, we are living and existing on the physical plane. Of course, we can raise our consciousness to the higher levels. And that is each one's own spiritual sadhana. What we have learned about all these planes is through the knowledge which is given to us by the Mahatmas in their Mahatma letters, and by studying the book Secret Doctrine by Madam Blavatsky. She has also written Isis Unveiled prior to that. And if anybody finds that this teaching is very heavy, they can go to the books or the writings of Annie Besant. She has given it in a much simplified form. So that will help you to understand all these concepts.
Okay. Can you please suggest the sadhana method? In the last time asking.
Sadhana method.
Yeah, how to practically.
Theosophy does not give any practical instructions. For any practical sadhana, Theosophy does not give any instructions.
Okay.
It is your own individual's practical sadhana, what you want to follow. But yes, HPP has given a diagram of meditation. It is called HPB's diagram of meditation. So you can study that and you can follow that. But I can tell you that Theosophy, it endorses Raj Yoga, that is control of mind. You can also follow Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga. Okay, so that also is coming under Raj Yoga, the control of mind. Okay, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. So Dharana, at least first we have to learn. That is as far as I can tell you about practical. Otherwise, there is no practical instruction as such.
And also the footsteps of the masters, like that. Can we do that, ma'am? Following
Sorry,
the footsteps, following the footsteps of the masters.
Following the footsteps of the masters. For that, I will recommend to you that in the Mahatma letters, in the old edition, Barker edition, the letters are divided section wise, and there is a section about discipleship.
Okay.
So how you can become a disciple, what you have to do for that. If you read those letters carefully, you will find so many golden gems written in that, how you are supposed to do and how you are supposed to progress further so that you can be accepted as a disciple.
Thank you, ma'am.
I will add something.
Yes.
Like if we go, Sai Krishna, the ancient teachers, they have given Upanishad, Vedas, and Gita to us. There, they have not given any instruction. Recently, in recent modern ages, the so-called gurus, they have given you instruction, come to us and we will raise Kundalini. But like ancient teachers, Theosophical Society provides innumerable books for our study. Know the world, universe, etc., etc. And sideways side, they have given up some books for to ponder over, to think over, to go for meditation, to go for teachings which we can practice in our own life. But there is no clear-cut instruction. You follow it and we will be benefited. It is left to us to how we will practice. Suppose, say, for example, At the Feet of Master. Very small, little book full of gems, and it can be, if you practice it, you will take a lives together. But each one sentence full of full of teachings for our practice in a day-to-day life. Like that, Voice of Silence, Light and Path, and other books are there. It is a total left to the Theosophical Society members either to go for study and know what is what, or to practice in day-to-day life, like Vivaji mentioned, Atma Vidya and also other Vidya, what is even Tattva Vidya. So there are no clear-cut guidelines. It is up to us. We have to divide our means to unfold ourselves. Okay, that much I have added.
Thank you, sir.
And
Very nice.
then Brother Sindheji is there, and other senior members are there. If anyone, Professor Sindhe can add something. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste, namaste. Vibhaji has explained and Pradeep has also has explained. Sai Krishna, what is your background?
I'm an MBBS graduate, sir.
You are?
I'm an MBBS graduate. I'm a doctor, sir.
Doctor, very nice.
Very nice.
So I'm posing for the entrance examination of my post-graduation entrance exam now.
Uh-huh.
Meanwhile, I'm also the member of Rayalaseema Theosophical Federation from Hyderabad.
Okay.
Oh, very good.
Very nice, very nice. So, no doctor is there who has got no faith in God. Because whatever medicine or whatever he is doing, he knows that he is just treating the symptoms. But how the patient gets cured is really unknown. And as you have asked, how to contact that cosmic energy, cosmic intelligence, that is a curiosity which must be there always. But that curiosity must set in inquiry, right kind of inquiry. And if you go through that, then there are certain right efforts are required, which are also given in Patanjali also. So according to that, Yama Niyama, this has been accepted as the universal one. That disciplined life is essential. if you want to raise to that cosmic this one. And the very first is to see clearly. When the illusion has gone, you will touch, you will get that glimpses. And as you know, such glimpses, they remain in our subconscious state. And whenever you again raise yourselves to the subtler level, these subconscious, whatever you have accumulated by glimpses, they will help, they will guide you. This is the method. Tapaswadhyaya, finally Ishvara Pranidhanani. Tapa is required, right effort is required, right study is required, and finally surrendering is also required. That is what method we follow in Theosophy.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you, Vibhaji. You have also explained very nice, and you have suggested many books also. Very nice.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, anyone like to ask any question? They are welcome, please.
I think we can bring this session to a close if
Yes,
there are
yes,
no questions.
yes, you can close.
Okay. And
Yes,
I will try to complete the remaining part of this letter in the next session.
Okay.
So this we'll close the session with our closing prayer. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Sarvesham Swastirabhavatu Sarvesham Shantirabhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Lokaha Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.